Ever looked at the energy that Millennials and Gen Z have at your church, and you just wish you could channel that energy into the change that you know needs to happen? Well, today we're going to talk about exactly that, how to help Millennials champion change. Stay tuned. Hey friend, great to have you on this Church Tips podcast. We are excited today to again have our content manager, Ryan Sparks. They put me on here with Ryan just because generationally we're so close together. Joke, folks, joke. Jonathan is out on a well-deserved break, as we mentioned, but we did do yesterday's podcast on helping with Millennials and Gen Z and commitment in the church. So if you didn't watch episode 42, I strongly encourage you to go back and take a look. Ryan had some great content in that one. And today we're going to talk about how to help Millennials champion change. So Ryan, jumpstart us into that.
Yeah, well, change, I think everyone right now understands change to the full extent.
Are things changing?
Things are changing. Things are changing. So I go to North Central University in Minneapolis. I mentioned that in the last episode. And when COVID-19 hit, we left for break, and nobody came back to campus.
Nobody returned.
And so talk about a change that you have to, adapt to quickly.
Yeah.
And so ultimately, with young people, change is going to happen whether there's COVID-19 or not. There's college things that get thrown at you. There's relationships that get thrown at you. Whatever. Change happens very frequently. And so you have to know how to handle it.
Well, and as a pastor, it's our role to help to understand that for young people, and then to be able to mobilize them to champion change at the church, because there are things that have to happen. And you've got things happening with COVID right now that you need some young people to come alongside you and help you with that. And Ryan's going to help talk us through some thoughts for you to help make that happen. So let's jump into this. So what's the first thing that a pastor needs to be thinking about?
Yeah, so the first thing is you need to frame change around progress. And so what I mean by that is if you already know the change that you're about to change is necessary for the church to move forward, necessary for the church to grow.
Yep.
But not everyone may know that. And so if you're saying, hey, we're going to make this change, this is necessary, communicate that this is necessary to push forward. Don't make it to where this thing is, we have to change this because this happened, or we have to change this because, we just feel this is the right way to go. Make it, hey, we're changing this to better you and to better the church.
And so speaking specifically to Millennials and Gen Z, they need to understand the reasons for the change.
Yeah.
You can't be just, I'm bringing it down from on high. Yeah. That's where the communication is so critical, framing this around the progress. What's the next thing they need to be factoring?
The next thing is to ensure that your change is actually necessary. And so with the younger generations right now, there's so many trends and so many fads, and the temptation is, we got to change the church because of that. Or, the social media platform just came out, so we got to change everything we do to surround that social media platform. Don't do that, because things are changing every single day. And if you change the vision of the church, if you change the mechanisms of the church every single day, it's not going to provide a place that
you lose it all.
You can't be consistent.
No, exactly. So that the young people understand this issue of necessity. And again, it's going to come back to does that make sense to them?
Yeah.
That's absolutely critical.
Yep.
What's next?
The next thing is make change an expected reality. And so ultimately, young people, like we said, kind of already do expect this because change is happening all the time in their own lives. Yeah. But as the church, you can actually further that by saying, hey, listen, the only permanent thing that we're ever going to have is change.
That's right. Exactly.
Is change. Like, things are always going to be changing, but make sure they understand that it is because we care about you. Mm-hmm. We want you to have a great experience in the church, and it's because we're not just every time something bad happens we're changing. It's because we want to help you have a great, genuine experience at church as a young person.
Would you ever come across? Would a pastor ever come? Well, I'm probably asking this wrong. Certainly there are going to be occasions, because all millennials, all Gen Z are not exactly the same. Everybody's an individual. What about the young person who just struggles with change? How does a pastor help them?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think the first thing definitely is to make sure that they know that they have the betterment of that person in mind. Mm-hmm. But also, as you're making change an expected reality, like we were talking about, make sure that they understand that it's going to happen. And so if they can prepare for that change ahead of time, and then you slowly push it on them, you're not like, making the change every day, and you're not just like pulling the blanket over their head like, hey, here's this big change. You're kind of slowly, easing them into it and bringing them along.
Well, it's frankly, Pastor, it's the same kind of principle you'd use with virtually any generation. With this generation, you want to be very targeted and specific with them to help them come along. Yep. And what's the last one you wanted to mention to us?
Yeah, so when change is optional, when it's not absolutely necessary. So when change is optional, ask young people for their opinions. And we kind of
now there's a novel concept.
Yes, exactly. Because if you've got a team of people that are older than the younger generations, and you're trying to figure out, hey,
and when he's talking older, he's talking over 30. So
exactly,
just be sure
older than millennials and Gen Z.
Okay.
Anything older than that, and you're trying to figure out, what do millennials like? What do Gen Z like? Well, it's going to be pretty hard because you don't have representation from that generation. And so the easiest way to make sure that the younger generation is going to champion the change that you're about to make is to ask them first and make sure that they want to.
Well, and involve them in the process. Yes. Now, it doesn't mean you're handing over, the final decision on it.
Exactly.
But I just hear this over and over when I'm talking to you, Ryan, when I'm talking to other college-age students is, they want to be involved.
Yes.
And it's critical that we ask young people for their opinions. I mean, these are great points that are really going to help you, Pastor, get this generation to champion change. So let's give a summary here of what we got here, Ryan. What do you got?
Yeah, so the first thing is frame change around progress. Then we've got ensure that your change is necessary. We got make change an expected reality. And then when change is optional, ask young people for their opinion.
I'm telling you, these 4 points will move you down the line in making change happen and getting these young millennials and Gen Z to champion a change for you. And that's exactly what you want to have happen. So, Ryan, thank you very much. It's been very helpful.
Absolutely.
I want to mention that we've got, I'm going to mention 3 podcasts that we've done that derive specifically to change in general, not change relative to millennials and Gen Z. But the very first episode we did was 5 reasons change is so hard. Now, when you watch or listen to that, you'll be able to connect in and be able to then tie that to the discussion of the millennials and Gen Z. We also have in episodes 5 and 6, the 9 steps to help people buy into change, because we want these younger adults buying into the change so that they can champion it for us, because they're really helping lock arms with us to move forward. We want to mention to you that the 4 Secrets Masterclass is available to you, and so we'd encourage you to click the link here in the show notes and jump into the Masterclass. It is Leaders.Church/secrets, and you're going to find this is just shy of an hour. I think it's 57 minutes long. That's really going to help you advance the leadership that you have at your church, and to be able to make you better and to be able to make the church better. And thanks so much for subscribing if you have already to the podcast. If you have not, it's very helpful if you would subscribe so we can keep the notifications coming your way of new episodes. This is a daily podcast, and certainly on YouTube or any of the other platforms, be sure to spread the word and send it out to your other pastor buddies, your friends. And we'd love to have you rate and review the podcast. We've got a review here from JWJ. These guys do a great job of producing valuable content to help pastors and leaders serve well in their local church and community. And I like JWJ already. So if you'll write a review, who knows? We'll read your review on one of the future episodes. And so, Ryan, anything to add to this today?
I don't think so.
We're all good to go. Thanks so much for hanging with us on how to help millennials champion change. It's going to be a great ride going forward. Look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Be blessed.
Hey, Jonathan here, real quick before you go. Everything in your ministry rises and falls on your leadership. So investing in your leadership is essential to staying healthy and growing the ministry. And that's why I want to invite you to join us inside the Leaders.Church membership. This online streaming service for pastors gives you access to more than 300 videos plus training material to level up your leadership and improve your ministry skills. If you'd like to do that, I want to invite you to go to Leaders.Church/boost. Again, that's Leaders.Church/boost. Well, thanks again for joining us on the Church Tips Podcast. We'll look forward to seeing you next time.